I am Carzy Oaks, welcome to my channel. If you enjoy the stories I tell, please save and like them. The story officially begins. I am the male protagonist of a healing story. My girlfriend, Shinryu, is the one responsible for my healing mission. When Shinryu finally won me over, we were about to get married. But once again, for the sake of her nominal brother, she left me alone at the wedding. Later, she apologized to me. Shinryu looked guilty, but I heard her say to the system in her heart, Lu Qin can be coaxed casually, but Ling Chuan really needs me. Later, she could no longer coax me, because I was already dead. Shinryu has always cared about her nominal brother, Shin Lingfeng. So much so that even though today is our wedding day, she can leave me alone at the wedding site for a phone call from Shin Lingfeng. Before leaving, she solemnly told me, Ling Feng has a fever, I have to go back and see him. After taking him to the hospital, I will come back immediately. When the wedding master asked me for the third time if I can start the wedding now, I just hung up the 27th missed call and said lightly, no need, the bride, she won't come. The guests were all in an uproar. I went on stage and bowed to them to apologize. Dear guests, I'm very sorry, because the bride has something to do today and couldn't arrive on time. The wedding will be postponed indefinitely. The guests looked at each other and began to whisper, what kind of matter can be more important than getting married for the bride? Yes, even if it's a big matter, can't you go after the ceremony is completed? My heart is full of bitterness. For Shinryu, what Shin Lingchuan has is a matter bigger than the sky. A phone call from him can easily call my bride away from the wedding I carefully prepared for. My heart aches so much that I can't breathe, but I can't help but think of the past with Shinryu. I am the male protagonist of the redemption story. This is a fact that I learned after I met Shinryu. The day I met Shinryu, I was driven out of my home by my father again and sat alone in the heavy rain. Shinryu held up an umbrella for me in the rain. This was the first time I saw Shinryu. I heard her say to the system, is this the male protagonist I need to heal? At first, I was very surprised, but later, through her conversation with the system, I learned that I am the male protagonist of the redemption story. And Shinryu is the one who was sent to save me. I just sneered at this. Redemption? I never needed to be saved. But Shinryu reached out to me again and again when I was about to fall into the dark. Bit by bit, it has gathered into the sea. I still fell in love with her. I can hear her conversation with the system, so I clearly understand that she is not just a task to me. In her heart, every word is a heartache for me. She even said she would stay in this world for me after the task is completed. She doesn't know that I can hear her conversation with the system. Naturally, she can't understand the joy I felt when I heard her say she would stay in this world. Thinking of the past, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but rise. But now, why can she leave me again and again for Shin Lingchuan? I gave a bleak smile. At this moment, the phone rang without warning. I answered the call. It was from Shinryu. Chen, Lingchuan is a bit sick. I just took him to the hospital. My phone was out of power just now. I didn't receive your call. Then she asked, is there anything urgent? My heart is full of bitterness in an instant. Shinryu, today is our wedding day. Shinryu paused. Chen, I know, but Lingchuan is really very sick, the doctor said. I interrupted her angrily. I don't care how Lingchuan is. I only know that today is my wedding day, and my bride ran away. Shinryu sighed helplessly. Chen, don't be so petty. Lingchuan is my brother, and he is also your brother. I finally couldn't bear to roar. But he is not your biological brother at all. Shinryu heard me say this. The voice was slightly angry. Chen, Lingchuan is still young. What are you arguing with him for? I hung up the phone expressionlessly. My heart is about to suffocate with pain. At 3 in the morning, Shinryu finally came home. Seeing me sitting on the sofa with a cold face, she is not angry, just like usual. She smiles and hugs me. Are you angry? Today is my fault, but Chen is very sick. Just now he just woke up in the hospital. Shinryu holds my arm and continues to act coquettishly. Chen, come on, it's all my fault, I apologize to you, okay? Before I could speak, Shinryu's phone rang again. Shinryu took a look at the caller ID and hurried to the bathroom to answer the phone. I gave a bleak smile, no need to think, this call must be from Shinlingchuan. Sure enough, after Shinryu hung up the phone, she quickly came out, packed up her things, and went out. At the same time, she didn't forget to say to me, Lingchuan has a fever again, the doctor said the situation is very serious. I said coldly, if you go today, we will break up. Shinryu hurriedly put on her shoes, heard me say this, just said casually, Chen, don't be angry, Lingchuan is really in a hurry, I have to go. After saying that, she pushed the door and left. Before leaving, I heard her say to the system, Chen can be coaxed casually, but Lingchuan is really in need. Okay, host. So it is, right? For a moment, my heart fell into an ice cave, and my body began to tremble. I sat in the living room alone all night. When it was almost dawn, I woke up in a daze. I felt my body was hot. It seems to be because I didn't cover the quilt and slept on the sofa last night. I subconsciously called Shinryu. In the past, when I was ill, Shinryu would drop everything to take care of me. The call was connected. I said in a hoarse voice, Ryu, I seem to have caught a cold. On the other end of the phone was Shinlingchuan's voice. Brother Chen, yesterday I was so sick that Ryu escaped marriage to take care of me. I'm really sorry. He said he was sorry on his mouth, but the tone was full of pride. Then, as if he suddenly heard what I said, Brother Chen, are you also cold? He said with a helpless smile. Sister Ryu is not at ease about me, she has to wait until my condition is a little better before leaving. She is now cooking in the kitchen, and she will come back soon. Shinlingchuan deliberately emphasized the word kitchen. My brain roared instantly. After hanging up the phone, I immediately opened Shinlingchuan's circle of friends. Sure enough, the latest circle of friends in the photo is 2 photos of Shinryu. In the first photo, Shinryu frowned and fell asleep tiredly on the bed. According to the angle, the person who took the photo should be lying next to Shinryu. The second photo is the back of Shinryu cooking in the kitchen. The text in the circle of friends is, happiness is to see her as soon as you open your eyes, and you can eat her breakfast made by hand early in the morning. My brain was suddenly blank. The content on the phone screen is extremely dazzling, and I can't stop the tears from flowing down. At this moment, I was completely heartbroken. I packed my luggage in a daze and left the home that belonged to Shinryu and me. On the way home, my brain was almost blank. I could only walk forward mechanically. The phone rings, and I wake up like a dream. I took out my mobile phone, and the incoming call was from Shinryu. I didn't answer the call, just let it ring and was hung up by the other party. After a few cycles, Shinryu lost patience and didn't call again. I looked at my phone, 6 missed calls. I gave a wry smile, only 6 calls, and Shinryu lost patience. On the wedding day, I made a total of 27 calls. Shinryu still found me. I expected it. With the help of the system, it's easy for Shinryu to find me. Chen, don't be angry anymore, we can make up the wedding, I promise this time. I interrupted her coldly. No need. Shinryu said helplessly. Chen, I really made a mistake, but Lingchuan is just my brother, we don't have to be angry because of this little thing. Little thing? Clearly, when I proposed to Shinryu, she was so excited that she cried and held me, saying it was the happiest moment of her life. Clearly, we stayed up late planning the wedding together. Clearly, even the wedding invitations were handwritten by us one by one. But now, in Shinryu's eyes, running away from marriage is just a small matter. My attitude is still unyielding. Seeing this, Shinryu sat next to me. Chen, I'll wait for you to calm down and talk. As if a parent is waiting for their unreasonable child to calm down, it makes all my anger feel like a punch on cotton. Shinryu and I sat in silence like this. Shinryu seemed to be sure that I was just sulking, and when I was angry, we would make up as before. My anger and grief have long been exhausted in the past few days. What's left in my heart is only a thick sense of fatigue and helplessness. I tried to calm my tone. Shinryu, I'm really not sulking, we really break up, I'm really tired. Shinryu saw me say these words calmly and was completely panicked. Chen, how can we break up? We are about to get married. I rubbed my swollen eyebrows. Shinryu, to be precise, we have already been married, it was you who ran away from marriage, but all this is not important, I really don't want to pester with you anymore. Shinryu finally realized that I was not sulking. She looked calm on the surface, but in her heart, she was panicked and discussing with the system what to do. System, what should I do? The male protagonist seems to really want to break up with me. I listened with a cold face, but in my heart, I thought with a wry smile, we will never be possible again, but Shinryu would not understand. Host, would you like to redeem the assist prop? What is an assist prop? Force the male protagonist to suffer from uremia, and finally the host will donate his kidney to the male protagonist to achieve the purpose of increasing the favorability. Host, would you like to redeem it? Hearing this, I couldn't help shivering and wanted to stop Shinryu regardless. Anyway, I am going to be entangled with Shinryu for a lifetime, as long as it can fill up. Chen's favorability, anything can be done. I opened my mouth. Yes, no matter what, I will always be entangled with Shinryu. My body and mind suddenly felt inexplicably tired. I suppressed the words I wanted to stop Shinryu and just said to her, Shinryu, we are impossible, no matter what you do, we are impossible. Shinryu had quickly said yes, to the system. After hearing the systems enabled, she breathed a sigh of relief and was no longer worried about my words about breaking up. She just relaxed and smiled, then said nonchalantly, Chen, no matter what, we will still be together. I hate Shinryu's confident look very much. As if she could just beckon, and I would come back. I didn't get angry but laughed. Is that so? Let's see. Shinryu didn't know that I already knew her plan. She patted me on the head as usual, and said with certainty, Chen, we will always be together. You are still angry today, and we will meet in a few days. She took a deep look at me and then left. After Shinryu left, I sat on the sofa like a deflated balloon. Shinryu delusion to exchange the act of self-sacrifice for my soft heart and forgiveness, thinking that we could make up as before. My feelings, life and even life are being played with by Shinryu without any care. I have no way to escape this vulgar plot under the condition that Shinryu has a system. Unless I die. I thought of Shinryu's fearless appearance when she left. If I don't do as she wishes, but die directly on the operating table, Shinryu's expression should be very wonderful. Shinryu seemed to have already made sure that we would still be together. She still calls me every day to ask if I'm doing well. But I know that in these days, she is still with Shinlingchuan every day. Even because I'm not at home, she has more frequent contact with Shinlingchuan. Shinlingchuan's circle of friends often shows his photos with Shinryu. Sometimes they go on a date in the amusement park. Sometimes they go to check in a new restaurant. Every photo is intimate and loving. But even so, Shinryu still tells me in the phone, Chen, no matter you believe it or not, Lingchuan and I are just siblings, and the one I love is only you. I just sneered and waited quietly for my predetermined fate. Finally, one day, I suddenly fainted at home. After waking up in the hospital, the first person I saw was Shinryu. Shinryu looked nervous, but her eyes were full of excitement. Chen, what's wrong with you? You haven't seen for a few days, how did you take care of yourself like this? I didn't look at her with a cold face. Shinryu didn't know if it was because of guilt or something, and when she saw me turn my head and not look at her, she was relieved. Chen, don't worry, the results will come out soon. I already knew the results in my heart, but I looked out of the window indifferently. Shinryu didn't speak when she saw me not speaking, but her body was trembling slightly. She must be looking forward to it, looking forward to saving me again and seeing me fall in love with her again. But she didn't know that I had already made up my mind not to accept the fate arranged by her. At this time, Shin Lingchuan came in. As soon as he entered, he affectionately put his arm around Shin Ruyu's shoulder. Ruyu sister, don't worry, brother Chen will be fine. Then he looked up at me and said apologetically, brother Chen, these days Ruyu sister has been with me, and there was no time to take care of you, which made you go to the hospital. The tone is the familiar provocation. I just smiled. It's okay, Shin Ryu has no obligation to take care of me. Shin Ryu frowned. Chen, don't say that. I finally got a little angry. Can you two go out? I'm a bit tired, and I want to rest quietly for a while. Shin Ryu wanted to get angry, but Lingchuan stopped her. Sister Ryu, let's go out first, don't disturb brother Chen's rest. Shin Ryu was pulled out by Shin Lingchuan, and before leaving the room, Shin Ryu added with dissatisfaction and certainty. Lu Chen, as soon as you are discharged from the hospital, we will get married immediately. I ignored it and continued to look at the scenery outside the window. I was thinking, it's almost here, it's almost here. Shin Ryu is looking forward to the kidney replacement for me. But where am I not? My love for Shin Ryu has been worn away, but my hatred still exists. I can't wait to see the expression of Shin Ryu after the kidney replacement fails and I die. After going out, Shin Ryu was called to the doctor's office. She pretended to chat with the doctor for a few words, and then came in with a sad expression. Chen, the doctor said. She pretended to open her mouth with difficulty, then sighed helplessly. I already knew the result and didn't want to be hypocritical with her, so I continued to be silent. Shin Ryu saw that I didn't speak, so she had to pretend to be heartbroken and continue to say the results she had made. The doctor said you have uremia, the situation is very dangerous, if you can't find a kidney source, you can only wait to die. I pulled the corner of my mouth. Is it? Then just wait to die. Shin Ryu thought I was too sad to start giving up, so she comforted me. Chen, don't be afraid, I will try to find a kidney source for you. My tone was flat. That's really grateful. Shin Ryu went for a kidney match. The result was a match, and Shin Lingchuan even quarreled to have a kidney match for Shin Ryu. Shin Ryu frowned and said to Shin Lingchuan. Lingchuan is obedient, sensible. The tone was unprecedentedly gentle. I looked at them coldly and said, I will not have Shin Lingchuan's kidney. Shin Ryu's expression immediately relaxed, but she realized the strong disdain in my tone and couldn't help but defend Shin Lingchuan. Lingchuan is just kind-hearted, Chen, you should not be ungrateful. I didn't say anything, just stared at her straight. Shin Ryu also realized the strong maintenance in her tone, then smiled awkwardly. Lingchuan just wants to help you. Shin Lingchuan heard Shin Ryu's defense, and his face was full of pride. Brother Chen, I just want to help you, after all, you, said he sighed, but his eyes were full of gloating. On the day of the kidney replacement surgery that Shin Ryu and I were looking forward to, I insisted on going abroad for surgery, citing that the technology abroad was more advanced. Shin Ryu had no choice but to comply with me. Just about to enter the operating table, Shin Ryu said to me affectionately, Chen, when you get better, we will get married as soon as we return to the country, and I will never let you down this time. I said with a smile. Okay. Shin Ryu's eyes flashed a trace of ecstasy. After all, this was the first time I had softened in so many days. I heard Shin Ryu say to the system. It turns out that this move is useful for Lu Chen, and when we return to the country, I will definitely marry Lu Chen and live a good life. The system also said. Congratulations to the host. I didn't listen to their conversation anymore, but looked out of the window for the last time. Goodbye. This world, although I am very reluctant, but if my fate can only be controlled by others, then I would rather use death to strike fate. Then I closed my eyes and was pushed into the operating table with peace of mind. I opened my eyes again, thinking I would go to heaven or hell. I didn't expect to see Shin Ryu again. I was stunned for a moment, thinking I hadn't died. I looked up and saw that my hand was transparent, just like a ghost. I was completely relieved. Although I don't know why I didn't enter the cycle after death, I was at least successful in dying, and not being arranged by fate by Shinryu and the system. I saw Shinryu waking up in front of me. Shin Lingchuan, who was on the side, saw her wake up and hurriedly asked her worriedly, "Sister Ryu, how are you feeling now?" Shin Ryu said with a smile, "I'm much better now." Shin Lingchuan's eyes were red, and tears couldn't stop flowing down. "Sister Ryu, you worried me to death." Shin Ryu wiped his tears with heartache, but the more she wiped, the more tears came out, so she had to kiss him helplessly. "If it was before, I might feel heartache, but now, I just feel nauseous." Shin Ryu patted Shin Lingchuan's head affectionately. "Don't cry, your eyes are swollen." Shin Lingchuan's face was red, obviously used to Shin Ryu's intimate behavior. I was indifferent in my heart, even looking forward to Shin Ryu's reaction after knowing about my death. Shin Ryu and Shin Lingchuan were intimate for a while, and seemed to remember me. Shin Ryu asked, "Where is Chen?" She seemed to be sure that my surgery would be successful. Think about it, with the help of the system, Shin Ryu would never expect that I was already dead. Shin Lingchuan said with difficulty, "Brother Chen, he..." Shin Ryu was a bit impatient, but still asked Shin Lingchuan patiently, "Where is he? I'll go see him later." Shin Lingchuan suddenly stopped talking. Seeing Shin Lingchuan's silence, Shin Ryu finally couldn't bear it and started to ask the system, System, why hasn't Lu Chen's favorability been full yet? Where is he now? Isn't he awake yet?" The system also stammered rarely, "Host, Lu Chen is already dead." Shin Ryu was a bit flustered. "System, you're talking nonsense, how could Lu Chen be dead? Didn't I already do a kidney replacement surgery with him?" Then, Shin Ryu disbelievingly yelled at Shin Lingchuan, "Where is Lu Chen? Where did he go? Speak up." Shin Lingchuan saw Shin Ryu getting anxious, so he had to speak up. "Brother Chen is already dead." Shin Ryu was completely panicked. "How could he die? Didn't I do a kidney replacement surgery for him?" Shin Lingchuan had to tell the truth. Lu Chen didn't have the kidney replacement surgery, he had euthanasia. Shin Ryu was completely dumbfounded. She suddenly lifted her quilt. She checked herself and found that there were no scars left by the surgery. She muttered in disbelief, "How could it be? It should have been the kidney replacement surgery. Why did Lu Chen choose euthanasia?" Seeing Shin Ryu like this, Shin Lingchuan also felt bad and continued to say, "Brother Chen said he didn't want to drag you down, so he discussed with me to go abroad for euthanasia." Shin Ryu seemed not to hear Shin Lingchuan's words and continued to mutter, "How is it possible? How could Lu Chen be dead? He was still waiting for me to marry him. Lu Chen wouldn't just die like this." I sneered, very satisfied with the scene in front of me. Shin Ryu, Shin Ryu, you were just kissing Shin Lingchuan a second ago, and in the next second, you still want to marry me. It's really disgusting." Shin Ryu almost went crazy. She kept talking to herself. "How could Chen die? No. Chen is still waiting for me to marry him. Chen wouldn't just die like this," Shin Ryu said as she rushed out of the ward. "I don't believe it, my Chen won't die. Where is Chen? Let me see him." The nurse on duty saw someone shouting and making a fuss, frowned and stopped her. "This family member, please be quiet." Shin Ryu grabbed the nurse's hand desperately. "Where is Chen? Where is Lu Chen? I want to see my Chen." The nurse's brow furrowed even more. "There is no Lu Chen here." Shin Ryu didn't give up and went to find the doctor. "Where is Lu Chen? In which ward is Lu Chen? My Chen is still waiting for me. I have to hurry to see him." The doctor sighed slightly and said comfortingly, "Lu Chen's family member, I understand your feelings, but the dead cannot come back to life. However, on behalf of the patients, I would like to thank your family member Lu Chen for donating his organs." Shin Ryu interrupted the doctor in disbelief. "Donate organs? What organ donation?" I sneered. Of course Shin Ryu didn't know. When I signed the organ donation form, she was busy with Shin Lingchuan. Shin Ryu obviously thought of this point, and immediately felt dizzy and fainted. Shinryu was taken back home by Shinlingchuan. After a night, she finally woke up and subconsciously said, "Ah, Chen, water." Before she finished speaking, Shinryu realized something and opened her eyes abruptly. The system's voice was a bit sad. "Host, the male protagonist is already dead, your task has failed." Shinryu grabbed her hair and shouted, "No, no, my task can't fail, as long as Lu Chen is still alive, I can't fail." Suddenly, Shinryu seemed to grasp a life-saving straw and said to the system, "Right, as long as Lu Chen is not dead, as long as he is still alive, system, don't you have props, give me a prop that can resurrect Lu Chen." The system hesitated a bit and said, "Host, there is such a prop." Shinryu was affirmed by the system and said excitedly, "Exchange it for me, as long as Chen can be resurrected, I am willing to do anything." Hearing Shinryu wanting to resurrect me, I just smiled lightly. "Shinryu, all your points have been used to exchange for my uremia, how can you resurrect me?" The system obviously thought of this point as well. "Host, I'm sorry, your points have all been used to redeem assist props." Shinryu's hope was shattered again, she couldn't believe it and said, "How could it be, is there any way to redeem points, can I use my life, as long as Chen can survive?" I was disgusted by her late affection, and it was indeed cheaper than grass. The system answered with some heaviness, "Host, points can only be redeemed with the favorability of the mission target, but..." Shinryu opened the favorability panel in despair. I watched her look like a madman, but what I thought was, there's something more desperate for Shinryu. The numbers on the control panel changed slowly. Shinryu was first delighted. "The favorability is still changing, my Chen still has a chance to be saved." Until she saw the favorability decrease more and more. Lu Chen's favorability 80, Lu Chen's favorability 70, Lu Chen's favorability 0. The familiar electronic sound kept ringing in Shinryu's ears. But this time, it was the ruthless judgment that the male protagonist's favorability was 0, and the host's mission had failed. Shinryu suddenly sat on the bed. How could it be? How could Chen not love me anymore? I felt comfortable in my heart and said to her through the invisible wall, "Shinryu, ever since you left me again and again for Shinlingchuan, I didn't like you anymore." Shinryu's face was as gray as death, and her eyes stared blankly into the distance, and the system had already left her when it announced the failure of the mission. It also told her, "The host's mission has failed, and life is on a countdown, with a remaining time of 1 month." I watched the listless Shinryu without any heartache. I just smiled and prepared to watch the good play. "Shinryu, you don't think this is all your retribution, do you?" After the system announced the failure of the mission, Shinryu was muddled every day. And Shinlingchuan has been taking care of her on the side. Shinryu's eyes were swollen every day, asking Shinlingchuan if she did something wrong, and why her Chen didn't want her anymore. Shinlingchuan was both jealous and distressed, and could only hold Shinryu and comfort her softly. Watching this pair of dogs and men, I was extremely excited in my heart. "Shinryu, you must not let me down with what I left for you on purpose." Shinryu finally found what I left for her on purpose, a voice recorder. This is the secret between me and Shinryu. A long time ago, after we quarreled, sometimes we would prepare a voice recorder because neither of us could lower our faces to take the initiative to apologize, and we would record what we wanted to say and put it under each other's pillow. I saw Shinryu open that voice recorder, which recorded our past separations and unions, but after opening it, it was not the familiar sweet talk to coax each other. Instead, it was my deliberately gentle voice. "Shinryu, when you open this voice recorder, I must be dead." I originally wanted to get married after I recovered, but Lingchuan awakened me with a word. He told me, "Should I drag you down for a lifetime?" I thought about it, you are still so young, and I really shouldn't drag you down for a lifetime. So I listened to Shinlingchuan's words and went abroad for euthanasia. "You are okay, I am really very happy." I wrote a thick diary and entrusted it to Shinlingchuan. he should have given it to you. I know it's selfish, and I know you have fallen in love with Shinling Chuan. But, even if you are with Shinling Chuan, never forget me, okay? Always feel guilty about me and be in pain, I silently added in my heart. Shinryu burst into tears after listening to the recording. She opened the bedroom door and walked out. Shinling Chuan in the living room thought Shinryu was finally willing to come out, so he walked up excitedly and said, Sister Ryu, don't be sad anymore. Brother Chen would be sad to see you like this. Brother Chen let me tell you before he left, forget him and live a good life with the person who loves you. I smiled. I hope Shinling Chuan and Shinryu are in pain. How could I say such a thing? But I was excited to watch Shinryu's reaction. Sure enough, upon hearing this, Shinryu's eyes turned red with anger, and she slapped Shinling Chuan. You are talking nonsense. Chen wants me to always remember him. How could he let me forget him? It's all because of you. Chen would die, otherwise, we should be preparing for the wedding now. As she said this, Shinryu couldn't help but blush with tears in her eyes. Shinling Chuan was completely confused. He tried to explain. Sister Ryu, is there some misunderstanding? Shinryu didn't listen to his explanation at all. It's all because of you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have endured to let Chen have uremia to save him, and my Chen wouldn't have died. I sneered coldly. Even now Shinryu doesn't think she's wrong. Where did you put the diary that Chen left for me, you malicious person? It's all because of you. If it weren't for you telling Chen not to drag me down, my Chen wouldn't have died. Shinling Chuan was immediately guilty. The diary I gave him, he had thrown it away long ago. Shinling Chuan thought, I have finally died. Keeping things will only make Shinryu miss me more, so he simply threw away the diary I entrusted to him. But he didn't expect that Shinryu would know about the diary. I had anticipated that Shinling Chuan would throw away the diary I gave him, so in fact, I never wrote any diary. All of this was just an illusion to get back at them. Shinling Chuan stammered. Lost. Shinryu slapped Shinling Chuan in anger again. How could I have such a vicious younger brother? Shinling Chuan was completely angry. Shinryu, am I just your younger brother? Then what does it mean to kiss me? Shinryu was immediately guilty. Her anger extinguished for a moment, and then flared up again. It's just a sister comforting her younger brother. The one I love has always been only Lu Chen. I was disgusted. Shinryu is really hypocritical and ridiculous. Shinling Chuan argued with red eyes. I'm just your younger brother? Which sister would kiss her younger brother? Which sister would run away from the wedding for her younger brother's cold? Which sister would sleep in the same bed with her younger brother? Sure enough, I sneered. Shinryu has long had an overstepped behavior with Shinling Chuan. Shinryu shouted like a cat with its tail stepped on. Shut up, you are just my younger brother. Shinling Chuan looked at such Shinryu and was disappointed. He said coldly, you don't think I killed Lu Chen, right? If you didn't run away from the wedding, if you didn't leave him again and again for others, he wouldn't have been disheartened and chosen euthanasia. Shinryu shook her head, mumbling crazily. No, it's not like that. Shinling Chuan looked at Shinryu and didn't say anything to this woman he used to like, but shook his head and left Shinryu's house. Shinryu only had 1 month left to live, but what made her despair was that although I was no longer there, but there seemed to be my shadow everywhere in the house. I left many things for her to miss me. Shinryu opened the photo album, and every page was annotated with my mood and endless love at the time. When she opened the refrigerator, there were dumplings I had made for Shinryu before my death, and I also attached a label for her. These are Yu's favorite dumplings. Unfortunately, no one can make them for Yu after my death. Even when Shinryu drank too much for me again and vomited, she opened the medicine box and found the medicine I had prepared for her. Yu, I'm leaving. You should drink less. Your stomach is not good. You should take good care of yourself. Shinryu finally went crazy. After my death, she seemed to realize how important I was to her. This late affection could not move me, but it was enough to torture Shinryu to the extreme. She struggled in the pain of losing me and the guilt of killing me with her own hands. She held the loving mementos I left for her on purpose and kept muttering, "I didn't kill. Chen, no, it's clear that, Chen and I were about to get married. It's all Shen Lingchuan's fault, it's all his fault." The more Shinryu said, the more certain she became. Yes, it's all Shen Lingchuan's fault. He even threw away the diary. Chen left for me, he is so vicious, it's all his fault. If it weren't for Shen Lingchuan, Chen and I would have been married long ago, and my mission would not have failed, it's all his fault. Shinryu said and picked up the kitchen knife, heading to Shen Lingchuan's house. Shen Lingchuan saw Shinryu and thought she had come to coax him, and he couldn't help but feel secretly joyful. But remembering the last incident, Shen Lingchuan just pretended to be calm and asked, "Sister Ryu, what are you doing here?" He said, feeling wronged and blushing his eyes red. He was waiting for Shinryu to coax him as usual. Swish! Before Shen Lingchuan could finish speaking, Shinryu quickly and neatly gave Shen Lingchuan a knife. Shen Lingchuan looked at Shinryu in disbelief. "Shinryu, you..." Before he could finish speaking, Shen Lingchuan fell to the ground. Police car sirens sounded. Before being arrested, Shinryu, her hands full of blood, sat on the ground, still muttering to herself, "It's all your fault, it's all your fault, you killed. Chen, it's all your fault." I watched this scene with no feeling of relief in my heart. Only endless fatigue and desolation remained. Shinryu is no longer the Shinryu I loved. I didn't choose to watch anymore, but turned and entered the cycle of reincarnation. Before entering the reincarnation, I saw Shinryu imprisoned for assault with a knife, and her life countdown ended with her still calling my name. And Shen Lingchuan, although not dead, also left sequelae, and it is difficult to live like an ordinary person. I shook my head. I have long been indifferent to all these. I am about to enter the reincarnation, forget everything, and start over. I just hope that in the next life, I will be an ordinary happy person, without a broken family, without melodramatic plots, and never be the male protagonist of a redemption story again. Before closing my eyes, I seemed to hear someone say to me, "As you wish."